What's up, winners? We're Win Wealth, and today we're talking to Richard L. Curry about how to live rent-free. He's gonna talk to us about his experiences renting out his property and all of the renovations he's done. So, Richard, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
So, the first question I have for you is, how do you live rent-free? Like, what do you do specifically that allows you to not have to pay for your mortgage?
Yeah. So what I do is pretty simple. I own a home, and at the home I made sure that I got a house with multiple bedrooms. And before I purchased the property, I did the math to see how much the mortgage, tax, and insurance is going to be each month. And I made sure that I had enough bedrooms that I could rent out at a fair price to cover that cost, and then to have that extra bedroom for myself. So I live in the master, completely rent-free.
How many bedrooms?
I have a 4-bedroom home. I rent out 3 bedrooms. Wow. But it's a big home. I have 2 living rooms. I have an office space. I have a dining room, pool area, the whole nine. So there's a lot of space for everybody to kind of move around, and plenty of space for everybody to kind of do their thing. And I rent 3 bedrooms. It covers the cost of pretty much everything for me. And for the last 3 years now, I've been living rent-free. And before that, I hated paying rent. Everybody hates paying rent. Yeah. But just the idea of me paying something that's going to somebody else, it's throwing away your money. So I just hated paying it. And I just decided to buy a home finally a couple years ago, and it's worked out. So that's really how it is. It's that simple, really.
How did you get started on this? How did you get the idea to do it? And how did you put together the money to? Yeah. And how much did you put down, if you don't mind us asking, and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Just go into that.
Yeah. So the first time I've heard about what I'm doing now was when I was working in college. I was at a bar, and I was working in a bar actually. And the manager at the time, kind of brought up that he's living rent-free. And I asked him, how are you doing that? And it was the first time I've ever heard of somebody purchasing a property, living there, and also having the bedrooms rented out, and that covers the cost of everything. So ever since college, I kind of had it in the back of my mind that that's something I want to do, because it just sounds like a great deal, like a great idea. And then a couple years after college, I finally was able to land a good job, make enough money to save up for a down payment, and get myself in a financial situation that I could actually purchase a property. Not everybody knows this. You don't have to put 20% down at a home. You can put pretty much whatever you want if it's your first time property. So I actually only technically put down, I think, 3%. So altogether, it cost me around $10,000 to $13,000 to actually get the house and get the property.
Wow.
And that's all I needed. And once I got the property, I instantly, the same month, was able to fill all the rooms, because you get a month for free. Oh, wow. They don't actually charge you for a month. You don't have to make your first mortgage payment. And in that month, I filled the rooms, and I've never paid a single month of my mortgage.
Dang.
Not one. So that's literally how I heard about it. That's how I kind of got into it. I'm not a rich guy. I'm not a millionaire by any standards. I just try to do simple things to kind of set myself up financially, to just live a little bit more of a comfortable life. And that's literally it.
The fact that you're living rent-free, that's probably saving you tens of thousands of dollars every year, though.
Yeah.
Most people don't even save that much at all. They don't save $10,000, and you're not spending it every single year on living in. I think that's pretty much everybody's biggest expense is their rent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The national average right now for people from their paycheck, percentage of paycheck that goes to rent, is more than 50% right now. That's the national average. So in our age bracket, there's the majority of people's paychecks is going to rent. More than half is going towards rent, which is money that they're literally never going to see again.
Yeah.
And you're throwing away, and you're paying for somebody else to own a property.
Right.
So just the thought of that, I could never get around. I just couldn't do it. So I always looked for the cheapest rent when I did live as a renter. I always had roommates. But I know I have friends and I have people that I've explained this to before, and they pay you know, $1,100, $1,300, $1,500. I've heard as high as $2,000 a month when you include utilities. So you know, it's just a lot to take in. Like, that's a lot of money a month that's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another quick question. I mean, so this sounds awesome. I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But tell us the downsides. Like, tell us the honest truth about, you know, is it hard to, like, are people always like leaving every year? Do you have to find new tenants? Like, what are the downsides?
Absolutely. With everything, there's downsides, right? I think there's different downsides for different people. I've met people who they would never do this, right? Because they just don't want to live with roommates. They like living on their own, which I completely understand. For those people, I always usually tell them, then just get a property so that way that your money's going towards something you're owning. You know, at least it's going towards something you're getting at the end of it. But some other downsides are, I'm a landlord. You know, I'm considered a landlord. So anything that goes wrong with the property, I have to fix it. Right. There is no one that I can go to anymore. Before it was call your landlord, call the maintenance team, whatever it is. And now it's me. You know, something goes wrong with the lighting, electricity, something needs to be fixed or something needs to be added to the home. I have to do that. So that is an expense that goes out of my pocket, but of course you're not paying rent. I'm not paying rent.
Yeah.
So so I can afford those fixes really quickly. And another downside is like there is a turnover of renters, right? And that is actually one of the main reasons I ended up purchasing a property. Was I had a string of bad roommates. You know, when you're living with roommates and everyone has an equal share of the rent, you know, it can get a little dicey. Everybody feels entitled to certain things. As the landlord, as a person who's living there, there's that responsibility of, okay, if something goes wrong, I have to fix it. But also the benefit of that comes with that is I never have to move out if something goes wrong. Right. So if someone doesn't like something or doesn't, you know, want something a certain way that I can't abide by, you know, there's been situations that's come up like that where someone has requested something of me and I said, I can't do that. But listen, like, I get that that's something that you want and need. I can't do that with this house. You are more than welcome, you know, to find another property. I try to be as fair as possible with them, give them the time. I try not to be a jerk about it. So, there's always that downside. You have to have that communication, you know, once in a while with people and just kind of let them know that, you know, there's only so much that I can do with the property. So, yeah, there's that. I also renovated my property, and that was a process. Having that be something that I'm responsible for as well is something that you have to kind of keep in mind. You have upkeep of the home, updating of the home, and making sure that you're taking care of the concerns of the renters as well. So
before I go into this question, I actually have another question. When you bought it, was it a fixer-upper? Did you fix it up right when you bought it, or it was good to go the second you bought it?
That's a good question. So yes, it's a fixer-up. It was a fixer-upper. When I purchased it, it was my first time really going into the real estate market. I didn't really know much at the time, and I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that I had this much money, and you know, this is kind of what I wanted to purchase, and I wanted to buy it in a nice area. So when I purchased it, it was a nice home. It was a fixer-upper home in a nice area. And hindsight if I had to go back, I would wait a little bit longer and try to find a home that I didn't have to fix, because it is a lot of work fixing a home, especially when you live in it while you're fixing it. So when I originally bought it, it was a fixer-upper, yes, but I just did the main changes I needed to do to get the home working and functioning properly, and then I planned to do the bigger updates as I went along. Later on. So as I saved money from not paying rent, I managed to put that money away, and I made a massive renovation in August of this last year. They completely took out everything in the home, gutted the whole house, new kitchen, new living room, new everything, changed it all out. But until that point, about a year and a half, 2 years of saving there to get to that point where I could afford to completely gut the house.
And you did that so the rent would be higher.
And
it's a nicer house. So
now that it's a nicer home, I did raise the rent. The tenants were completely fine with that. I didn't raise it a crazy amount, just a little bit. It's been great ever since then. Honestly, it's really nice. I like where the house is at now. I'm enjoying it. That's where I'm at.
So cool.
Are you are you doing this because eventually you want to sell this home for a profit, or is it something that you're just going to rent out for the rest of your life? Tell us about that.
That's a really good question too. The short answer is I don't necessarily know exactly. The beautiful thing about having a home like this is it gives you options to play with in the future. So there's some times where I look at the equity and I'm like, oh man, I could sell it right now and make such a large chunk of money, and it's really hard to kind of look at that and just kind of be like, nah, I should hold it. I bounce back and forth between the idea. Right now I live there, so I'm not going to sell it because I live there. And I have renters, so everything's going smoothly, so why mess with something that's working? If I ever get in a squeeze and I need the money, or if I feel like I really need to do it, or if it's such a good offer, then yeah, I could do it. But I think the big plan, I'm sticking to more than any other plan, is holding on to it. I'm going to purchase more properties, live in those properties, rent them out, or rent out other properties as well, bring in that passive income, and just rent them out the whole time, because if it's paid off from the renters, that's a whole house you got technically for free, you know? And if you look at inflation and the way things work, you're looking at least 2-3% in property value a year. You times that by 30, you're looking at a very big chunk of money coming your way in 30 years. And in 30 years, I'm going to be 50-something years old, you know, so I don't want to get my age out here. And I'm going to be like 50-something years old, so I look at it as a retirement plan as well. You know, I have other investments and stuff like that, but this is the most sure investment I have, is a home. You know, they're not making more land. We have what we have. And the property that I live at is in an area that's up and coming. It's going to be nicer and nicer. It's getting more expensive to live there. And I know that property value is going to rise over the next 30 years. So why sell it when I could just rent it out, get a free, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 when I do want to sell it in 30 years and put that into my retirement. So it's almost like a guaranteed retirement, and it's a guaranteed safe bet that I'm going to make money at the end of all this. So I think I'm going to hold on to it. But if the time does arise where somebody comes to me with a crazy offer, maybe, yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier about how this isn't really for everyone.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to someone who has a significant other, maybe they have children? Is there any way that they could do this, or is it really, do you really have to be in this kind of you have to have a lot of freedom in order to do this? Kind of the vibe I'm getting, but do you think otherwise, or?
I think there's different ways to do it. This is just my way of doing it. Right now, yeah, I'm relatively young. I am free to do this. I can live with other people and stuff like that. In the back of my mind, I do think of, when I settle down and I have a wife and kids, what am I going to do? And again, it goes back to that options thing, right? I just want to focus on giving myself as many financial options as possible. And if you think about the worst case scenario in this whole situation, it's selling the home for a profit, right? But I think what the plan for me is I want to purchase more properties. I want to buy another property, live at that with my significant other, rent this one out, pay for that mortgage with the money I'm making off of this mortgage, off of the renters of this house, and just kind of be able to just subsidize future mortgages that I have from the properties that I had prior. So if you do have a significant other, you do have kids and stuff like that, yes, this is completely possible. I would recommend looking for a property where you can purchase multiple units. There's a lot of properties out there, there's 2 townhomes or a duplex type unit. Yeah, like a duplex type units. Exactly. They're few and far between, especially right now.
Yeah.
But they're out there.
And you're completely separated. It's your
Exactly.
own house, but they're still paying for your rent.
Exactly. Yeah. So it depends on what you like. There's some people that they don't want the maintenance of the yard work and the pool care and all this other stuff. So I would recommend to them, get a condo, get a townhome, something that, you pay an HOA and that all is taken care of for you.
Right.
There's people who want to, they want to save their money. So I tell them, if you don't want to pay the HOA, get a house. You don't have to pay in an HOA-free property area. And, there's just so many options out there that no matter what stage you are in life, what you like, what you want to do, there's literally no reason for you not to do this. Now, outside of that, it is kind of a process. There are some requirements to purchasing a home. You have to have a steady job, steady income, prove that for 2 years. You have to have a certain amount of money in your accounts. There are some things that you need to have there.
Is it good credit too, right?
You have to have good credit. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my biggest benefits and biggest factors is, I had a family that from a young age, taught me the value of having good credit, built my credit early on, and I was able to have mortgage lenders compete.
Nice.
That's one thing they don't really tell you when you're dealing with real estate agents. They're like, oh, you get a lender and a broker, and they're going to give you all these options. They really don't. My biggest advice in all of this is call multiple mortgage lenders. Call all of them that you can. And when you get those offers in, share them with each other. Tell them, this is the offer I got from one. Yeah, this guy gave me this. What can you do? This guy gave me that. What can you do? Share. Exactly.
Yeah.
I got it down from I think 4.75% down to 3.1%. Just getting them to compete.
Yeah.
And the lower your interest rate, the better. If you can get even half a point off, like a 0.01 off, it makes such a difference in the long run because
30 years,
you see that when you're going to sign, you see the payments you're going to make. You see how much it's actually going to cost you to purchase the home. And at 4%, you're almost paying double. Like a $200,000 home you're going to be paying $380,000 at the end of the 30-year term. If you knock that down a whole percentage, you're paying, down maybe $80,000 instead of the $200,000 you'd be paying. So it does make a difference in the long run, and that's money in your pocket. And that's the whole thing. I want more money in people's pockets than I would want in banks and in the system. They have plenty already. Let's try to get it to the people, and this is the best way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. All of that information is awesome. I think what I just learned now is I'm excited. I want to talk to my fiance because we want to get a house in August. We've already been looking at it, and we were thinking about living in that property for 2 years and then eventually renting out to other people.
Yeah.
But I'm also just now thinking in my head, maybe I'll have my brother live with me and have him help out with the mortgage. So that way I can take off a little bit, and save some cash,
Yeah.
So just last thoughts. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I know it sounds intimidating purchasing a home, right? I think everybody has that, and that's kind of what my biggest regret was, waiting so long. I had the opportunity to do it in 2014, and I didn't take that opportunity. I had my sister, who's been one of my best financial advisors in my life. She's helped me out tremendously in telling me what I should be doing. It was the one time I didn't listen to her, and I should have, because if you look back at house prices in 2014, they were just so low. You could buy a beautiful home for almost $200,000. The market right now is crazy. It is on fire. It's almost impossible to find a home and purchase it for the actual price that it is. You're putting $20,000, $30,000 over market price, or the asking price, just to get the home. So the market right now it's crazy and it's tense. And it's hard to determine when is it gonna pull back, because is it ever gonna pull back? And there's a lot of determining factors there on what would cause that, or if it's gonna happen. And my best advice, honestly, though, is regardless of where the market is, you have to live somewhere.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You have to live somewhere, and your money every month it's going somewhere. So it's either going to go towards something you own, or it's going to go towards somebody else. Those are the two options you have when it comes to property and real estate, and where you're going to live. And even though the market's on fire, that's the way you should think about it. Is if you can still look at properties, you can still try to find something out there, and you can still do the math to find out, can I make money on this? Can my costs be covered by renters? So it's still better for that money to go towards something that you're owning than something that's being owned by someone else.
Think about the price of a home in 1990, because you're going to be paying 30 years, and that's when it's paid off. So
Absolutely.
2050, think about 1990, how much was a home,
Yeah, absolutely.
So 30 years from now, no matter inflation's happening, prices are high, but
Absolutely.
for 30 years in the future, prices are extremely cheap, unheard of. You couldn't get a home for the price in 1990, You could have a mansion for the same price of $300,000, in 1990. So
Exactly.
definitely buy it as soon as you can, because in 30 years,
Yeah,
it's going to be dirt cheap compared to,
Yeah.
you know, oh, there's a little inflation going on right now. But 30 years from now, it's like, that was the cheapest. I should have got it right then and there, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
you could try to time it. You can keep your ear to the ground, try to see if you can find a good deal out there. Absolutely, you can, and there are good deals out there. Absolutely, depending on the real estate agent that you have. But at the end of the day, that should be your thought process. That's my thought process in the end. I'm not whether my house value plummets. At the end of the day, I have renters who are paying it, and I don't have to worry about paying every month. So
and it'll come back.
and it'll come back. Always come back.
Yeah.
It's homes and land. They're not making more land. I mean, land that we have exists already. They're making more homes for sure, but
Everyone's going to be living in a place,
Yeah.
even in 3020, the year 3020. We're still
Yeah.
going to be living in a home.
you have to live somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard someone say, don't wait to buy real estate and wait.
Yep.
And I was like, dang, this blew my mind.
Good one.
I wish I bought in 2014. It's my biggest regret. I wish I did.
It's hard. It's hard because, you know, literally at this time, you are paying the premium price for a
Yeah.
home, and it sucks. Just because your money's not worth as much as it should be worth.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been looking for a house for about a year now, and you know, Callie and I, we literally went to a home, looked it out, and our real estate agent was like, "Yeah, you guys got to put an offer on like today,
Yeah.
and you'll sign in like 4 days from now." And we were like, "Geez, that's so soon." And literally the next day, someone put an offer of like $20,000 more than the asking price, and we were like, we would have not been able to do that, you know?
I've been searching for a second property now for about 2 years, and
2 years?
yeah, I've been searching for about 2 years, and it is difficult. You know, the market is really on fire. It's been on fire for a while. People think it just now got on fire. It's been like this for a while. If I had a $1 for every time that I put an offer on a home and I got beat out, you know, by $20,000-$30,000, I have enough for at least for a good meal. You know, my biggest letdown was almost purchasing a property. I was supposed to purchase a property in March of last year, and the deal fell through after signing even, because we had some caveats to the deal where the person had to find another property, and they just couldn't find another property. So I had to walk away from it afterwards, and it was going to be a great deal. It was going to be a lot of passive income coming my way, and I was really excited about it. And it's, you know, you got to kind of have a short memory when it comes to that and keep looking. Right now I'm taking, you know, I look for properties here and there, and, you know, if something I like comes my way, I put an offer in, or I talk about it with my real estate agent and I go visit the property, but I'm not, you know, as active as I should be. And, you know, I would recommend that you guys be active as well, and anybody that's watching this to be active. Yeah, stay on Zillow.
Stare at Zillow all day.
Yeah,
Just find the new home.
there's plenty of good softwares out there to look at.
Yeah. You know, would you ever consider getting a home not to make money off of it, or just to learn it, just live in? You know, I have the argument with the lady about, you know, when I look at property, I kind of think of, you know, is this going to make me money in the future? That's just how I look at properties. But she looks at it as in, is this going to be a great place to raise our children?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I want that too. But I was just wondering, like, when, you know, do you ever think, hey, I'm looking for a property so I can one day live in that and stay there? Or do you think, no, every single home I get is so I can make some kind of return or make my money back?
I think having the mentality where you're making the right moves financially to live in comfort is good. I do think that people can take it to a toxic level, right? I think just thinking about money all the time, that I want to purchase a property only if it makes me money, or thinking in that way, it can get a little toxic, not just for yourself and your own quality of life, but the people around you. You know, you have to think, like, you know, at the end of the day, we have one life. Let's just try to enjoy it. And thinking about money all the time is gonna, you know, take away from that. So even though I'm doing this right now, I am doing this right now with my home because I am free to do it right now. When I settle down, I don't want people living in my home. You know, I want my own house. I want to have a safe environment for my kids to live in and enjoy themselves, and my partner to live in. And, you know, that's just that's where I'm trying to get to, is having enough properties though that the money I make off those properties pays for the property that I live in.
Right.
So technically I'm forever living for free, you know? So I want to buy another one, live in it, and have renters, and do the same thing over again. But I want to have like 2-3 properties doing that, and then that'll be good enough for me. Get that money to pay the mortgage that I'm living at, the house that I'm having with whoever I'm spending the rest of my life with, if that ever happens. And that's my goal. So just think of it more, how can I set myself up financially to be more comfortable, and make sure that you account for the people around you as well. For instance, like your partner, you have to prioritize their comfort as well.
True.
And make sure that what you're doing is setting both of you up to live a comfortable life, and then you'll be okay, then you'll be happy.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on the show, and
Yeah, man.
we'll see you next time. Keep winning.